Hi.
Hey guys, so I'm sure everyone loves spoiling their cats and giving them treats and so on, but unfortunately there are a few things which you should never ever feed your cat because it might kill them.
And I'm sure you've all had to Google, can I feed this to my cat? So we thought we'd make a video to just underline which foods are toxic to cats. Thanks Maya for walking straight through that frame.
Okay, so we've split them into, hard nose, then some that are a bit more controversial and some that are basically if you feed them in excess that they become toxic.
Which are okay like as a very occasional treat, but if you start feeding only that or a lot of it, then it can have some bad side effects for your cat.
Okay, the first one is something that we all love, and that's chocolate.
Yeah, so chocolate has
Theobromine.
Theobromine? Haha, we don't know.
Bromine, scientists go.
In it, and caffeine, which are both very, very bad for cats. So I think that's something that most of us know, that chocolate is very toxic to cats and dogs and should always be kept away. It also, not that you should be feeding any chocolate to your cats, but just out of awareness, dark chocolate is worse than milk chocolate, and the worst by far from what I know is cocoa powder, because that's the most raw state you can get it in.
Alcohol, I think that's fairly self-explanatory.
In any form, shapes and sizes, guys.
Not exactly good for us, we enjoy it, but cats or pets in general
shouldn't have it.
Ever.
Next one is coffee or caffeine in general. So it is specifically the caffeine in the drink that's bad for them. So you can't give your cat Red Bull or any energy drinks or anything like that either, because it's really toxic for them.
And the next one is any form of onion, garlic, cloves, not cloves, chives, that kind of...
Everything in that family.
In that family, yeah.
Which is really... I think it shuts down their kidneys if I'm not mistaken. So that's something, and it's raw or cooked, so you can't give it to them if it's in a sauce or something either.
Then the next one is xylotol. Now this is a kind of sweetener. You find it often in sugar-free drinks and that kind of stuff.
As well as in sweets, in chocolate, some chocolates as well. It's actually present in a lot of stuff these days because everybody is into that sugar-free state of mind, and xylotol is usually what they replace raw sugar with.
And lastly, citrus fruits, oranges,
lemons, grapefruits, everything from that family is bad for cats, and funnily enough for male rats as well. Just side fact. Then there are a few items we didn't want to put into hard nose because they are a bit more controversial.
So those were the hard nose, the definites. Never ever give this to your pets.
Yeah, never ever. And if you do give that to your pets, immediately call your vet or I believe in the US you even have a poison hotline, and they can then advise what you should do next to treat your cat immediately. So on the controversial list, the first one we want to talk about is dairy. So now it's obviously one of those things that's being shown in like every cartoon, every movie ever. You have the kitten with a little bowl of milk in front of it. Cats shouldn't have milk. Cats are lactose intolerant, most of them. Not all, but a significant amount.
Like you.
Like me. And therefore they should never have milk. However, there are ways to go around it. For example, because they're lactose intolerant, we have lactose-free milk at home because of me, and obviously giving that as a treat every now and then is not particularly bad for them. As well as it has been proven that certain yogurts, for example, goat's milk yogurt and I think it's called kefir, are quite good in a raw diet because they have very good probiotics in them, and it helps with the digestion of the bony substances in raw food and so on. So, but again, it's not something they should get every day, and you should do your research as to what is safe and what isn't before you give dairy to your pet.
Baking soda and yeast, basically any raising agent, can cause stomach issues because of bloat. Basically it reacts in the stomach and it swells up. That's kind of what the purpose of it is. And
it can lead to, because of the bloat, lead to twisting of the intestines, which is a very dangerous condition. So definitely no breads, no cakes, nothing like that should be given to your pet.
Ever.
Then something that I did the research was very interesting is grapes and raisins. So there's no particular study found that they are very poisonous for cats, but they have been proven to be toxic to a lot of other animals, including dogs specifically. So it is generally advised by vets and by nutritionists and so on that don't give them to your cat, just because there is a high probability that if other animals can die from them, that your cat could too. So we didn't want to put it on the no-no list because it hasn't technically been proven to be toxic, but the general agreement in the world is that it is.
And I think this one is fairly obvious to me, at least. Things like spices and salt, that kind of stuff. Particularly, I mean, the salt is fairly obvious. It dehydrates and so on. And I mean, I don't think cats can really appreciate spices, so why feed them spices?
And in excess, certain ones can be toxic. I know nutmeg is on the list, and cinnamon as well, I believe. So it is everything in big doses, obviously, but I mean, cats wouldn't have spices in the wild anyways, so why would you want to feed them to your cat now?
Then another one that's quite controversial is coconut flesh and coconut water. These are both very high in potassium, which is bad for your pets. However, things like coconut oil can be quite beneficial, specifically to skin conditions, as well as, I think, stomach issues.
Yes.
Something like that.
So it helps if your pet is a little bit constipated is the word. It can help soften the stool a little bit. So again, it's not something that should be given in excess, but just as part of a raw diet, it's good to add a little bit of coconut oil here and there, and it helps keep their coat shiny. And since we have Kebby and Maya who have skin issues, it also helps keep them healthy.
Then on that note, the entire raw food diet is a big controversial topic at the moment, mainly because vets won't ever recommend it, purely because there are too many unknowns and unsure factors such as parasites and pathogens that might be in the meat if not prepared properly, and it's just not something that vets would take on them because, you know, the risk to them is too high, so it's much simpler to just prescribe normal kibble.
It's also, so if you ever Googled what's dangerous for my pet, you'll see that raw meat is always there. So are raw eggs, because of salmonella and E. coli.
So it's not actually the meat itself that is dangerous. I mean, cats in the wild, lions, leopards, all of them eat raw meat, but they're fine. The only thing is, because of the domestic cats, they are susceptible to parasites and so on.
But as part of a good raw diet, you would be feeding human-grade meats, which means that your pet would have about as much risk of catching E. coli as you would. So that's how I try to see it, since we do feed a raw diet, that yes, the risk is there, but it is about as big as me buying a chicken breast and getting salmonella from that. There's always a risk.
Well, the difference is we cook the meat for us, but there's also, I think from what I understand, cats are less susceptible to salmonella, and also all of the meat that we use will be frozen for at least 24-48 hours before we feed it, which in most cases kills the parasites and so on that might be in the meat.
And it will be thawed properly according to instructions and then given to them immediately, and after 24 to 48 hours it will get removed if it hasn't been fed. So it's all about preparation.
And I know very particularly like game meats are very prone to parasites and stuff, so there's a very specific way that you have to prepare those. So you can't just go to your local hunter and ask them for meat and just feed it straight away. You have to freeze it, I think,
2 weeks.
For at least 2 weeks before you can
kill all parasites.
Then anything on the next section is, it's not directly toxic, but still don't feed it anyways, but it's in the long run it can be toxic. And the first one that everyone I think knows is avocado. We love avo, but don't feed it to your pets. Although I know a lot of
the skin and pit are toxic. The flesh they can theoretically eat.
But weirdly enough, like a lot of cats specifically I see that love avo. It's I don't know, they're dumb, I guess.
No survival instinct there.
Large amounts of fats, oils, grease, that kind of stuff.
Including fats on meat. So obviously even as part of the raw diet, while a cat in the wild would eat a mouse, you wouldn't want to give them more fat than would be on a mouse. So it is part of the whole prey system that we use. You don't want to give them, if you're eating a lamb chop and you have a giant blob of fat on there, you don't necessarily want to give that to your pet either.
Yeah, I mean, think about it in the wild. Most things that big cats eat, even big lions or leopards and stuff, they're very lean animals because they have to run away from the animals. So don't feed your cats just fat. Massive chunks of fats.
So the next one, which I know a lot of people love to feed their cats, is canned tuna. So farmed, is it tuna or tuna? Tuna.
Tuna.
Tuna? Are you sure?
It's tuna.
I don't know. I'm European.
Tuna. Yeah, I mean, when we open a can of tuna in this house, it's just
all there. However, because the fish are farmed, they actually have a higher content of mercury, which is bad for humans and it's very bad for cats. So you can have fish in your cat's diet, especially if you have your cat on a raw diet, but make it fresh fish, and even then it shouldn't be their main source of food. So it can be fed occasionally. I think we do it probably 2-3 times a month. We will add or we'll give them a fish meal.
Yeah, we get a specific fish raw diet pack. We're going to do a little review on the company we use at the moment. But yeah, we get but it's the least we order. So
yep.
we only order like 2 tubs of fish and they get it.
So it has great benefits because it has obviously omega-3s and so on, which are really, really good for them. But it's not as necessary as meat, and it won't be as beneficial as meat. So it's a great treat. And if you're going to feed your cat fish, then rather go for fresh fish and find out which fresh fish are okay for cats. I think mackerels are on there, and sardines as well. Not canned, fresh.
Do it, I dare you.
And then, at last,
I think this is probably the most debated one in the world.
The big question, and we keep getting comments about this as well, eggs. Right, so you'll read everywhere that eggs are bad for cats. From the research we did switching to raw, we found that eggs are fine. It is about the same risk as with the raw meats. You have salmonella in eggs.
I know in a lot of countries the main thing with eggs is the salmonella. I know in Germany you can't order a soft-boiled egg because people think they might die. We live in Africa, there's more dangerous things.
So we add egg yolk to our cats occasionally to their diets.
And we've been doing this for a long time. And
it has great nutritional values. What's important to remember is egg white. Raw egg white is bad for cats because it has something called avidin in it, which basically stops the cat's body from being able to process and use vitamin D. So egg white you shouldn't feed to your cat, that is true. Egg yolks are, as far as the research we've done shows, perfectly safe, both in raw and cooked form. Generally, when you cook something, the nutritional value goes down, so give it to them raw. Just separate out the egg yolk out of the egg white, and then remix it into their raw diet, and they will love it.
Yep. So there you have it. Ways not to kill your cat, or any other pet for that matter. Let us know in the comments what other things you might not feed your pets. Do they love some random thing that's on the list, like avocado? I know Matisse, our old cat, he used to love grapes, but apparently that might kill him, so I don't give them grapes. But let us know in the comments, give the video a like, and remember to hit that subscribe button, and we'll check you.
Share with all of your friends, please.
And we'll check you in the next one. Cheers.
Bye.